Welcome. Another day, another case. Today we're talking about Mark Twitchell, born July 4th, 1979. Do we have a case today, friends? Oh my gosh. This guy's just sick. That's really the only way I can put it. He's very sick. But nevertheless, let's get into it, shall we? This man was a super fan of Dexter, aka Dexter Killer. If you haven't seen the show, go watch it, I guess. I never really watched it, and I didn't really feel like watching it for the research of this video. I'm not gonna lie to you. Mark grew up basically the regular lifestyle. There wasn't anything too significant about his upbringing. He always had a love for cinema, though, and a love for cosplaying and acting and costume in general. He just loved the theatrics of it all. Was actually pretty creative, and he was pretty good at making those costumes and designs though. So Mark would actually attend the Northern Alberta Institute of Technology. He really focused on his studies there. He didn't do too much partying. After attending college, he would marry a woman named Megan from Illinois. He would actually move to Canada with her. They would start their life together. Their relationship was pretty normal. They were head over heels for each other. Everyone said they were very in love. Mark really did care about her, but fortunately for her, 3 years later, they would actually divorce. Mark goes back to Canada after the divorce, and he immediately gets on Plenty of Fish. He wastes no time. He is looking. On Plenty of Fish, he would meet his wife and soon-to-be baby mother, and her name was Jess. They met in 2005. Into the marriage, they actually had a daughter. But like I said, Mark's focus was not being a father. Mark's focus was not tending to his wife and his children and being a family man. Mark's focus was cinema, art, magic. No, but he definitely had a passion, and it wasn't for his family. In 2007, he tries to make a movie, and it's kind of like a remake of Star Wars. It's like a fan film. He does create these badass costumes for the movie that he creates himself. Gotta give people their flowers where they're due. Might not like him, but gotta, give them their credit, I guess. Apparently, there was a lot of online commotion about the movie. But, as you could probably guess, the movie was never released. Like I said, Mark did have a knack for design and costume. He would go to premieres, costume contests. He did win a costume contest with one of these costumes. I'm pretty sure it was the infamous Bumblebee costume he made. He also had a passion for other things, and we're about to get into that, friend. Not long after marrying Jess, he would make a pretty scary, weird film called House of Cards. It's basically a film about a man who lures a cheating husband and beats him with a lead pipe and stabs him to death. That's basically the gist of the movie. He's also created a comedy called Day Players. It's about the secret life of extras and what the extras do behind the scenes. While he's filming these movies and he's doing all these things and he's living his best life, his family is at home, and things are not so good back at home. They start arguing. They actually have to start doing couples therapy because things were so bad. Was not at home, but he was not making money. He was lying about having a job, period. But he told Jess that he was a salesman. Every morning he would get up, go to work, put on his, he would put on a show. He was acting every day. I told you he had a passion for acting. Every day he would go to work, and there was no money being made. So after Jess found this out, she was like, yeah, I think I'm good. I want a divorce. She would actually testify that while he was out committing crimes, he would literally have on their little at-home calendar that you hang up for your appointments and everything, that he had a psychiatrist appointment. Buddy, I think maybe you should have been at that psychiatrist appointment. This is where the story takes a dark turn. October 3rd, 2008, Jill would be on Plenty of Fish, and he would be swiping, looking for the love of his life, kind of like we all do, who hasn't swiped before. And he would match with a woman named Sheena. And him and Sheena start talking. They're chopping it up. He's asking her, are you single? Where are you from? And Sheena is kind of straight to the point, kind of making it seem like she wants to meet up and she's ready to see him. So they make plans to meet up. But Gilles, he never got the address when it was time to meet up. He actually was getting weird messages like, take a left at this street and take a right at the light and turn down this dark, creepy road. And I know a lot of people are going to be wondering, like, okay, why didn't he just turn around and go home? That's kind of sketch. I don't know. YOLO. He was living his best life. You can't go back and undo it. So wondering that was kind of useless. But nevertheless, he eventually does get to the location. So Sheena tells Gilles to come in through the garage. Well, Gilles does that. He gets, in the garage. Boom! Tased with a freaking stun baton. Can you imagine that? You're meeting up with someone that, you've been talking to online or whatever. You already have this fear that it's some lunatic. Lo and behold, it is. And you walk in and automatically you can't think, you can't do anything. You are stunned. Literally and physically and all of that. You are stunned. Insane. That enough would have took me out. I'm sorry. After he stuns him and Mark gets him in a vulnerable position, Mark pulls out a gun. And he's telling him, chill the fuck out. Chill the fuck out. Just get on the fucking ground, Obviously, Gilles gets on the fucking ground. What are you going to do? There's a gun pointed to your head. So he gets on the ground. Fucking Mark comes along, duct tapes this man's eyes. In my mind, I'm trying to get the fuck out, first of all. Me thinking that this man is duct taping my eyes, baby, let's go. Get your fucking boxing gloves on. But at this point, Gilles is thinking the same thing. He's thinking, I have to fight. I need to get out of this. Like, this is not how I'm going to go out. He literally rips the duct tape off his eyes. Can you imagine that? Like, I can only, like, when I think of that, I picture the little eyelash, the little eye remnant. Like, no disrespect to the victim at all, but, like, that takes true courage and strength. Once he gets the duct tape off his eyes, he then starts to fight. And he actually wrestles the gun out of Mark's hand. And when he does, he realizes that the gun is fake. I would be pissed, because how'd you fucking get me like this? Once Mark realizes that the gun is fake, a struggle takes place and they start fighting again. Gilles does actually get out of the garage and he takes off running full speed, fast as lightning. The people outside are looking at him like, what is going on? I'm sure they're like, because they're probably like just out tending to the grass, checking their mail, mowing the lawn, and you see a man running out, terrified, screaming, and another man coming behind him, chasing him, trying to capture him. And then once Mark sees that the neighbors are watching, Mark's just like, oh, he starts screaming, get back here, like playing it off. And then he's like, he gives up, but he decides to go inside because you can't clean that up. But Gilles did actually get away. He didn't report the assault because he was too embarrassed and ashamed, which is really sad. He didn't report, so it's kind of like it never happened. And in a sense, like to the law, nothing has really happened yet. Although it did happen, it did take place, and it was traumatizing, I'm sure, and devastating, and it's very real. Legally, nothing's been reported, so nothing's happened yet. No one's looking at him yet. So, kid you not, 5 days later, Mark decides, I'm going to do this shit again. I think I want to recreate my movie. I want a victim, and I want to remake House of Cards with somebody's life. Back on Plenty of Fish, swiping, looking for his next victim, and unfortunately, he would stumble across 38-year-old Johnny Altinger from British Columbia. They would match. They start talking, they're getting really friendly. And then immediately, Mark cuts to the chase and asks Johnny to meet with him. Johnny does remind me a little of myself in this situation because he did tell his friends that he was going on a date with Jen. He gave them her location and everything. Like, he kept his friends in the know. I'm a firm believer that you should always keep someone, whether it be a close friend, a parent, a relative, in the know at all times, just because it could literally save your life or get you justice in the end. So Mark is doing things a little differently this time. He actually does give Johnny the location, and he has them pull up to the garage, and he tells them to come in through the garage. As soon as Johnny gets in there, boom, he's attacked with a lead pole, and from the movie, is immediately stabbed to death. After all of this takes place, Mark decides the best thing to do is to disassemble Johnny's body. He would disassemble him and try to catch him on fire and experiment with his body, because then he decided, oh, that's not a good idea, and dumped them in the storm sewer. Not only did he recreate his movie, this isn't a 2-week span. So he created this film, attempted, probably about a week later, attempted to take Jill's life, failed, and then 5 days later, immediately successfully took Johnny's life. If that's not progression quickly, I don't know what is. After about 3 days, Johnny's friends are starting to get a little sus, a little worried. They're not used to their friend not reaching out to them. Johnny was the type of person, he always kept his friends in the know. He always responded. They always knew what he was doing. And 3 days was just a little too long for them to not have heard from their friend. So, them being the amazing friends they are, they decide, we're going to pull up. We're going to do a drive-by and make sure everything's good. To raise their suspicions and make things even worse, they all got an email from Johnny saying that he's moving to Puerto Rico and he's starting his life over, right? Imagine your friend tells you they're going on a date and you don't hear from them for 3 days. And when you finally do, it's an email of all things saying that they're leaving and not coming back. I would be sus too. So, them being the good friends they are, they decide to pull up to Johnny's house and check on him, and just to make sure everything is okay. And those are some real friends, because I know my friends would do that for me. My two besties, we locked in like that. So I totally understand. When they get there, they realize none of Johnny's stuff is missing or seem to have been packed and taken with him. He doesn't seem to have went anywhere. And they decide to call the police, which in my opinion is a great idea. The police get there and they give them all the information. They let him know our friend was going to meet this woman and he hasn't been heard from since. This is the location. And honestly, do you see how well and quickly that worked out and how quickly things are going already? Always let your friends know where you're going. So, 12, the police, they go to the location where Johnny was supposed to meet this woman. When they get there, they find out that the garage is actually rented out to a man named Mark Twitchell. They get a hold of Mark. They ask him to come on down. Mark Twitchell is the man who is renting that garage for filming movies, right? So he gets there, and the little padlock, you know how you have those little locks for garages and safes and stuff, that's on the door. So he doesn't have a key, or the key isn't working, so they have to break in, the police, with his permission. They break in. The police kind of, peek inside, look behind his shoulder, and they see all kinds of cleaning supplies. So they do ask Mark, like, what's up with that? Like, the cleaning shed? I thought this was a movie shed. And he's like, oh, we just filmed a horror film a few days ago. So that's where the cleaning supplies came from. And the police are like, okay. So the police, they found that really weird that all this cleaning supplies was in the garage that this woman was supposed to be having this man meet her at. They definitely take Mark in and they're like, we'd like to just talk to you at the station and, like kind of like a, yeah, you're coming with us kind of vibe. But really just to talk to him because they couldn't arrest him or anything off that. So they bring him down to the station and they're talking. And Mark is being surprisingly very helpful, very open. Anything they ask, he answers. He's just very cooperative. After this, the police clearly have to let him go home. Like, they can't keep him, but they're watching him after this. They definitely have their eye on him because it's all just a little too weird. They tried to get a warrant on Mark's garage, but the judge actually denied it. So the detectives are going back and forth and they're like, why don't we just ask him? Like, he's been very cooperative, very helpful so far. I think he would honestly let us. So they ask him and he does. He lets them search the garage. They come over. He signs his life away. He signs all these papers saying you can search this, that, and the third. And the police come in. They bring luminol, which is actually a substance that you can kind of, I want to say spray, but mist, and you turn on a black light and it shows whether it's been cleaned, bleached, whatever the case is. If there was blood previously there, it's going to show. There was lots of blood. So at this point, Mark kind of screwed himself. I don't know why he would even, I'm glad he did, but I don't know why he would even agree to that. Like, are you dumb? When the detectives go in there, though, there's literally a clear plastic, sheet dividing the room in half. And if you don't know, that's what Dexter uses in the series Dexter. So the police just thought that was really weird too. Like, what the fuck? But yeah, that luminol lights up like a fucking Christmas tree. And on October 31st, 2008, Mark Twitchell was arrested for first-degree murder. On November 3rd, Jill, do you remember Jill? He would actually come forward with his story to police and the public, and he did actually end up writing a book. So, turn your trauma into gain, babe. Mark did claim his innocence for 2 whole years, even though they had literally all this evidence stacked against him. But when Mark signed his little life away, he also signed the rights away to his devices, and the police would find a note that Mark written himself. And it was basically a tell-all and a confession about from Gilles to Johnny's murder and trying to set him on fire. All of it was written out. Beautiful little confession. So this was key in trial. Mark's family did agree, his friends and family did agree that he was innocent, and they proclaimed his innocence as well for a long time. But his wife never did. She kicked him out of the family home. As you should, queen, as you should. So Mark Twitchell would go to trial, and he thought he was going to say all this and get away with all of this, but he actually didn't. He was found guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced to life without parole. He did try to appeal for his conviction and for his sentence February 15 of 2012, but it's not that he was denied. He actually just abandoned his appeal, which I agree. I don't think you shouldn't think you should be able to get out, so why are you trying to? But yeah, that's the story of the Dexter killer, Mark Twitchell, and his victim, Johnny. If you enjoyed this video, please come back. There will be more. Thanks for tuning in. Bye, guys.